All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving our praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the brethren that I came out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth in 100% sincerity. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, and peace and salutations to the sincere and few sisters out there who believe in this gospel. So, I got an article here talking about the Colt 45 virus, right? And the title of this lesson is going to be called "Potential Lockdowns in the Near Future?" Question mark, right? And I'm gonna just read through this article. Just kind of get an idea what this article is talking about, Lord willing, and bring out some precepts. Lord willing, this is a edifying lesson and straight to the point, because brothers, especially the apostles on down, have been talking about another lockdown coming, and through the Spirit, we believe that this lockdown is going to be a lot more intense and a lot more gruesome than the last lockdown. We don't believe that, because we believe, and even you got videos of Edomites talking about how they're not going to shut down their businesses this time, which that's going to bring a lot of rebellion, a lot of people refusing to follow, refusing to follow the statutes of the lockdown, and it could bring potential civil unrest, and that's what a lot of brothers believe is going to be different about the previous lockdown that was in 2020, 3 years ago, right? So it says WHO, or World Health Organization, claims the COVID levels are now reaching near 2020's initial peak, urges high-risk individuals to take any booster they can get their hands on, right? Taking those booster shots and the juice, the jab, right? So look, it says U.S. COVID infections are hovering near levels of the pandemic's first peak in 2020 and approaching the Delta peak of late 2021, according to wastewater surveillance and modeling by forecasters. Is yet another sign that while the official pandemic state may be over, the days of COVID are far from it. Viral wastewater levels are not far behind all of the pandemic's 2020 peaks, except for one, the initial peak of March 2020, which they've already surpassed. And they lag just slightly levels seen during the deadly Delta peak of late 2021, according to the BioBot Analytics, which monitors such data for the federal government, right? So they're talking about, the number of people infected with the virus is rising once again, just like it did back in 2019, 2020, right? Because if you remember, they were talking about, the COVID and how it was, when it was a new thing back in 2019, and in December 2019, and then the levels started to rise in January 2020, and by March we were on lockdown, right? And apparently the same thing is happening. The same thing is happening. The quiet before the storm. The levels are rising, and pretty soon, just out of nowhere, there's going to be a lockdown. People are going to be told to shelter in place, stay in their homes, only essential workers and things like that, right? But this time, I believe that most, especially these Edomite small business owners, most people are going to refuse to shut down their businesses, because, last time small businesses took a large hit A lot of small businesses closed down, and a lot of these big tech companies began to, gain more wealth. And, a lot of these, especially these Edomites, you know, they're of the mindset, well, we're not going through this shit again. This is my livelihood. This is my money. This is how I feed my family. I'm not doing this again. The economy's already as bad as it is. So, this is not an option. Me closing down my business is not an option for me. So it's potential we could see civil unrest with this next lockdown, right? And that's a prophecy. That's prophecy in the Apocrypha, right? Lord willing, this is going to be a fulfillment of this prophecy here. The second Esdras, chapter 15, starting at verse 14, and it says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able," right? So during these lockdowns, man, it's possible, there's going to be sedition, right? Because they're already talking about, well, we not going to shut down our businesses, right? That's going against the decrees of the kings and the princes, right? Who was that? The elected officials, the politicians who are making the rules and voting, President Biden and his team and those who are, making these decisions to have us on lockdown. Right? We believe, Lord willing, these Edomites, and hell, even Jay, rebel against their decrees, against what the mayors and the governors say about being on lockdown, right? Because that's going to bring seditions, right? Especially with the economy going the way that it's going. This could be, the start of seeing the impact of famine here in America, right? But that's just bringing us closer and closer to the Charagma, right? And then World War III. And then after that, it's the kingdom, it's deliverance, man. And that's what we're waiting on. And I think, brother sent in the chat yesterday, the UN and the, I think it's the World Health Organization. I got to look at the post again, saying that their Agenda 2030, they're speeding Agenda 2030 up to Agenda 2025. So that's great, that's great. These things are speeding up as it's a prophecy. The Lord is going to make the time short. The days are going to be shorter, right? For the elect's sake. Because this world is going to shit, right? So let's go here to Jeremiah 25, starting at verse 31. And it says, "A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for the Lord hath a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Thus the Lord of hosts, behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coast of the earth," right? So this thing is going to affect the entire globe, not just America. Because last year in 2020, it was a global thing, right? I believe China was on lockdown first, and then, different cities in Europe and Italy and things like that. And then it finally came here to America. So this is the death toll of all of those people affected by the COVID, it was a global thing. It was bigger than here in America, but it was a global thing, right? Verse 33, and it says, "And the slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground." That's a prophecy of how many people are going to be dropping dead at this time, right? Due to what? Due to what? 2nd Ezra 15:5. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Right? So plagues are going to come upon the earth, famine, death, and destruction. And in Matthew chapter 24, in verse 17, I believe, or verse 12. Yeah, 24:7, Salakia. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, for there shall be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows, right? Quoting the Apocrypha, right? Because that's in the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 16, the beginning of sorrows, right? So there's going to be pestilences. That's what COVID is. It's a pestilence, right? And then you had monkeypox, which I don't know what happened to that. Don't nobody talk about that anymore. But, you got monkeypox. It was some fungi or something like that was, roaming around that they said was dangerous. Just all types of stuff in the world, pestilences going on in the world, right? But this is all biblical prophecy right up before Yahweh Shai, comes and delivers the elect of the nation of Israel. Lord willing, we be a part of that number, right? So this is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 49. I'm going to make this quick. And it says, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death, right? Because Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai is bringing back righteousness back into the earth. But in order to do that, right, the evil, the wicked, has to be cleansed from this planet, which means a lot of people got to be put to death. A lot of people got to be put out the earth, right? So that the kingdom can be put into place, right? Call Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, that we have this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the prophecies to be able to know what's going to happen before it happens and declare this to our people, declare this to the world and to the four corners of the earth. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go ahead and close out with this. It's Revelation chapter 13 and verse 11. And it says, And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Right? So let's go into this word here, because I believe this word dragon in the Greek is dracon, right? Dracon. This is probably from an alternative wording, talking about Salakia, that's the etymology. It says a dragon, a great serpent, a name for Satan. And this is going into the draconian laws that they're going to put in place during this time, especially if there is rebellion against the state and against the government, during a lockdown, right? They're going to come in with brand new laws that are going to basically put you into utter control of the military and the government, right? Salakia. Salakia. Right? So we're living in very exciting times. We're getting very close to the end. We're very close to the end, If you've been paying attention, if you've been watching, man, you can really just see it. You can see the end just, closing in on us, right? And again, the Wada Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah for granting us with 100% truth and knowledge and wisdom of the scriptures so that we can be prepared for this day. So Lord willing, this was edifying and straight to the point. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh, Shalom.